Admiral Zix 427 stared at the holographic display with all four of his eyes, his silver skin turning a pale gray with stress. Another red dot disappeared from the map, marking the fall of yet another coalition stronghold to the Void Dominion. The massive command center of the Galactic Coalition's last major base in the Orion Arm was silent except for the soft beeping of computers. "How many ships did we lose this time?" he asked quietly. His second in command, a tall crystalline being named Syra, checked the data streams. 37 warships, Admiral. The AI predicted a 98.2% chance of victory. But she trailed off, her crystal structure dimming with sadness. That was the problem. Their AIs always predicted victory, and they always turned out wrong lately. The Void Dominion, with their ever-evolving biological ships and adaptive battle strategies, had proven too unpredictable for even the most advanced computers to counter. The Coalition had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They were supposed to be the most advanced civilization ever known. 47 species, each masters of technology, working together in perfect harmony. Their ships could bend space itself. Their computers could predict the future. Their weapons could destroy stars. But none of that mattered anymore. 300 years, Zix 427 whispered. "We've been fighting for 300 years, and now we're about to lose everything." A junior officer rushed into the command center, his anti-gravity pods humming with excitement. "Admiral, the scout ships have returned from Sector 3742. "Not now," Syra began, but the young officer continued. "They found something. A new species, Admiral. They've just achieved their first faster-than-light travel." Zix 427 turned away from the display. "We're losing a war, officer. A primitive species that's barely left their planet is hardly. But, sir, they're different. They still fight wars." The command center went silent. Even the computers seemed to pause. "That's impossible," Syra said. "No civilized species maintains warfare after achieving unity. It's barbaric." The junior officer projected a new hologram. It showed a blue-green planet, third from its sun. The readings showed cities, vehicles, and yes, weapons. Lots of weapons. "They call themselves humans," the officer explained. "And they're fascinating. They have no biological advantages. No natural armor, no enhanced senses, no specialized organs. They're not particularly strong or fast. But," he paused, checking his data, "they have more types of weapons than any species we've ever encountered. They practice war even in peace. They have something called war games where they pretend to fight battles." Admiral Zix 427 moved closer to the hologram. Something caught his eye in the data stream. "Show me their military history." The display filled with battles, strategies, and tactics. Unlike the perfectly logical patterns of coalition warfare or the biological imperatives of the Dominion, human warfare was chaotic, unpredictable. They sometimes won battles they should have lost, and lost battles they should have won. They used deception, surprise, and something called psychological warfare. For the first time in years, Zix 427's skin began to shimmer with hope. "Get me their leaders," he ordered. "All of them." Syra's crystal structure pulsed with confusion. "Sir, they're primitives. They don't even have quantum communication. Their fastest ships are barely above light speed. What could they possibly offer us?" The Admiral watched as the hologram showed humans practicing their war games, setting up ambushes, using terrain to their advantage, and employing strategies that no eye would ever conceive because they weren't logical. "They might just offer us victory," he said softly, "because they're the only species left in the galaxy who still knows how to truly fight a war." General Sarah Chen sat in the Pentagon's main conference room, staring at the aliens sitting across the table. If someone had told her last week that she'd be meeting with representatives from an advanced galactic civilization, she would have laughed. Now, she wasn't laughing. Let me get this straight, she said, looking at the silvery being who had introduced himself as Admiral Zix 427. You've been fighting this war for 300 years, and you're losing. Correct, the Admiral replied through his translator. The Void Dominion adapts too quickly. Our technology cannot keep up. Sarah glanced at the holographic display showing the enemy's battle formations. Next to her, Captain James Rodriguez, a young tactical officer, was scribbling notes on his tablet. With all due respect, Sarah said, but why come to us? You have faster-than-light travel, AI computers, and weapons that can destroy stars. We just figured out how to leave our solar system. The crystalline alien named Sarah stepped forward. Because you still understand war. Our civilization has relied on computers and AI for so long, we've forgotten how to think like warriors. But you humans, she gestured at the walls of the Pentagon. You maintain military organizations even in peace. Captain Rodriguez suddenly raised his hand like a student in class. Ma'am, permission to speak freely. Sarah nodded, curious about what her youngest officer had noticed. These Void Dominion formations, he said, pointing at the hologram, they're not random. They're following natural hunting patterns, like wolf packs or shark schools. They're acting on instinct, not strategy. The alien stared at him in surprise. Admiral Zix 427's skin flickered with different colors. Our best AIs analyzed their patterns for centuries and found no weaknesses. Rodriguez stood up and walked to the hologram. That's because AIs think in perfect logic. But these patterns, he traced the enemy formations with his finger. They're biological. They always protect their flanks, just like predator animals. They always attack in waves, like hunting packs. They never sacrifice their stronger units to protect weaker ones, because their instinct is to preserve the strongest. The room fell silent. Sarah watched as her young officer, who had spent his childhood studying animal behavior before joining the military, pointed out weakness after weakness in an enemy that had baffled an entire galactic civilization. And look here, Rodriguez continued excitedly. They never retreat unless they lose half their forces. It's like a survival instinct. The pack stays together until losses become too heavy. If we can trick them into splitting their forces, trick them. Sarah's crystal structure pulsed with confusion. Deception in warfare it is. Primitive. Sarah couldn't help but smile. Primitive is exactly what you need right now. Captain Rodriguez just found more weaknesses in 10 minutes than your AIs found in centuries, precisely because he thinks like a primitive. She stood up and walked to a world map on the wall. We humans didn't become the dominant species on our planet through superior strength or speed. We did it by outsmarting stronger predators. We studied how they hunt, how they think, and we used that knowledge against them. She turned to face the aliens. And that's exactly what we're going to do to your Void Dominion. Admiral Zix 427's skin turned a bright, hopeful blue. You'll help us then. Sarah looked at her fellow officers, who were all nodding eagerly. This was the kind of challenge they trained for, even if they never expected to use their skills against alien threats. On one condition, she said, we do this our way. No AIs, no computers making decisions. Pure human strategy. The Admiral rose to his full height. The Coalition puts its fate in humanity's hands. Sarah smiled. Then let's show these biological warriors what happens when they face an enemy they can't predict. Captain Rodriguez, gather our best tactical officers. It's time to go hunting. The Coalition warship's bridge was unusually crowded. Alongside the regular alien crew, 5 human officers stood watching the main screen. Captain Rodriguez pointed at the red dots representing enemy ships. Begin Operation Trojan Horse, he said calmly. Admiral Zix 427's skin turned pale gray with worry. You want us to lose on purpose? Sarah Chen nodded. Trust us. Sometimes you have to lose a battle to win a war. The human officers had spent a week studying the Void Dominion's behavior. Like hungry wolves, The enemy always attacked damaged ships first. They couldn't help themselves. It was in their nature to go after weak prey. First wave, move forward, Sarah ordered. 20 coalition ships, now under human command, flew toward the enemy. Their weapons fired deliberately off target, making it look like their targeting systems were damaged. "This is madness," Syra whispered, her crystal form dimming. "We're sacrificing good ships." Rodriguez smiled. "No, we're not sacrificing anything. We're setting a trap. Look how they're reacting." On the screen, the Void Dominion ships changed formation. Just as Rodriguez had predicted, they moved to surround the seemingly damaged coalition ships. Their biological instincts were too strong to resist such easy targets. "Now, start the retreat," Sarah commanded. "Make it look messy, like we're panicking." The coalition ships turned and fled in different directions, some of them trailing fake smoke and debris. The Dominion ships chased after them, splitting into smaller groups just as the humans had planned. "They're taking the bait," Rodriguez said excitedly. "They can't help themselves. It's like dropping wounded animals in front of predators." Over the next few hours, more coalition ships joined the fake retreat. Each one was carefully prepared, carrying special cargo hidden beneath fake damage. The Void Dominion captured ship after ship, their biological scouts reporting easy victories to their hive mind. Admiral Zix 427 watched in amazement as the humans deliberately lost 40 battles in a row. "I don't understand," he said. "How is this helping us?" Sarah walked to the main screen and pointed at all the captured ships. "Every single one of those ships has a surprise inside. Think of it like the ancient story of the Trojan horse, a gift that looks valuable to your enemy, but actually brings their doom." "What kind of surprise?" Syra asked. "A virus," Rodriguez explained, "but not a killing virus. That would be too obvious. This one does something much sneakier. It disrupts their hive mind communication, just for a few hours, like giving them a bad cold that makes it hard to think clearly." Understanding finally dawned on the Admiral's face, and when all the captured ships released this virus at once. "Exactly," Sarah said with a smile. "Their entire command structure will fall apart. They'll be confused, disorganized, unable to work together properly. And that's when we launch the real attack." She turned to face the alien leaders. "You've been fighting them like they're a smart enemy that thinks like you do. But they're not. They're biological creatures running on instinct, and the thing about instincts is, they can be predicted and exploited." The humans watched as another coalition ship was captured, making fake distress calls that the Dominion couldn't resist investigating. "How long until we activate the virus?" Syra asked. "Just a few more hours," Rodriguez replied. "We need them to take as many of our damaged ships as possible. The more ships they capture, thinking they're winning, the bigger their defeat will be," Sarah finished. "Sometimes, the best way to win isn't to be stronger or faster. It's to make your enemy defeat themselves. Activate the virus. Now," Sarah Chen ordered. Across thousands of light-years of space, the captured coalition ships came to life at once. Each released a carefully engineered virus into the Void Dominion's biological ships. Within minutes, the results were visible on the main screen. "Look at their formations," Rodriguez said, pointing at the enemy fleet. "They're falling apart." The Void Dominion ships, usually moving in perfect hunting patterns, began to drift in confusion. Some crashed into each other. Others fired at empty space. Without their hive mind connection, they were like a body without a brain. Admiral Zix 427's skin turned bright blue with excitement. "It's working. They can't coordinate their attacks." Sarah nodded. "Phase 2 begins now. All ships, attack formation Delta." The coalition fleet, now using human battle tactics, split into small, fast-moving groups. Instead of the usual head-on attacks that AIs preferred, they struck from multiple directions like guerrilla fighters. "I've never seen warfare like this," Syra said, watching as human officers directed the attacks. "There's no logic to it. No pattern. That's exactly the point, Rodriguez explained. We're being unpredictable. Look how confused they are. Their instincts tell them to form hunting packs, but they can't communicate to do it. And our attacks don't make sense to their biological programming. On the screen, a group of coalition ships performed a complex maneuver. They pretended to retreat, then suddenly turned and attacked from 3 directions at once. The Dominion ships, unable to adapt without their hive mind, fell into the trap. Another victory, a junior officer shouted. That's the 5th battle we've won in the last hour. Sarah walked to Admiral Zix 427's command station. Do you understand now why we needed to think differently? Your eye has always fought them the same way, so they learned to counter it. But humans, we're chaos. We're unpredictable. We do things that make no logical sense. The Admiral's skin rippled with different colors as he processed this, like deliberately losing battles to set up a bigger victory. Exactly, Rodriguez said. Or like this. He pointed to a new battle starting on the screen. Watch how our ships are fighting in pairs. One attacks while the other hangs back. The Dominion instinctively focuses on the attacking ship then. BM. The second ship strikes from behind. Cyrus' crystal structure brightened with understanding, like a hunter becoming the hunted. For the next several hours, they watched as battle after battle turned in their favor. The Void Dominion, for the first time in 300 years, was losing. Without their hive mind communication, each ship fought alone, falling back on basic instincts that the humans had studied and learned to exploit. Send the message to all coalition forces, Sarah ordered. It's time every ship in the fleet learned to fight the human way. As the orders went out, Admiral Zix 427 turned to her. You've achieved more in 1 day than we did in 3 centuries. But the virus won't last forever. What happens when they recover? Sarah smiled. By then, it'll be too late. We've shown the galaxy that they can be beaten. That their biological advantages mean nothing against human creativity. And most importantly, she paused, looking at the victory reports flooding in. We've taught them to fear us. Fear is a biological response too, and it's one that will stay with them long after the virus wears off. Rodriguez nodded. They're about to learn why humans have a saying. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. When their hive mind returns, they'll find a very different war waiting for them. The emergency alarm woke Sarah Chen at 3 a.m. Earth time. She rushed to the Coalition Command Center, still pulling on her uniform jacket. Captain Rodriguez was already there, his face lit by the red warning lights. They're coming for Earth, he said without looking up from his screen. The Void Dominion has launched their largest fleet ever. Over 10,000 ships. Admiral Zix 427's skin had turned almost white with fear. They've never committed so many forces to one attack before. They must have realized that humanity is their greatest threat. Sarah smiled, which confused everyone in the room. Good. They're doing exactly what we wanted them to do. Cyrus' crystal form pulsed with surprise. You wanted them to attack Earth. Of course, Rodriguez said, pulling up a new hologram. We've spent the last 2 weeks leaking false information. Fake defense plans, wrong fleet positions, and best of all, we let them think Earth is poorly defended. The hologram showed the solar system, with small dots representing coalition and Earth defense ships. To anyone looking at their defenses, Earth seemed like an easy target. I don't understand, Admiral Zix 427 said. You deliberately made your homeworld look weak. Sarah walked to the main tactical display. Remember how their biological instincts make them attack what looks weak? Well, we've made Earth look like the weakest, most tempting target in the galaxy. She pressed a button, and the hologram changed. Hidden behind the sun, behind planets, and in asteroid fields, thousands of coalition ships appeared. Earth wasn't weakly defended. It was better protected than any planet in the galaxy. Operation Scorched Earth is ready, Rodriguez announced. The Dominion fleet will be here in 6 hours. They think they're following our real defense plans, but those plans are fake. Every move they make will lead them straight into our traps. Over the next few hours, they watched as the massive Dominion fleet approached. Their formation was exactly what the humans had predicted, a standard hunting pattern, but bigger than ever before. They still think they can win by being bigger and stronger, Sarah said. They haven't learned that size doesn't always matter. Just ask any elephant that's been taken down by a group of clever hunters. The first wave of Dominion ships entered the solar system. They followed the exact route that the leaked plans had suggested was safe. Suddenly, hidden coalition ships emerged from behind Jupiter's moons, catching them in a crossfire. First trap successful, Rodriguez reported. They've lost 200 ships already. The Dominion fleet pressed forward, trying to push through with sheer numbers. But at every turn, they found coalition ships waiting for them. Human generals had placed their forces in positions that made no logical sense until the enemy fell into the traps. Look at their formation now, Sarah said with satisfaction. They're bunching up, trying to protect themselves, just like scared animals. Admiral Zix 427's skin turned bright blue as he understood. You're not just defeating their ships, you're breaking their confidence, making them doubt their instincts. Fear is the greatest weapon, Sarah explained. After this, they'll think twice before attacking any human-protected world. They'll see traps everywhere, doubt every easy victory. The battle continued, with more Dominion ships falling every minute. Their great counterattack. Captain Rodriguez stood before a room full of alien military leaders from across the coalition. After the successful defense of Earth, every species wanted to learn human warfare tactics. Today, we're going to teach you something that your AIs never considered, he said, pointing to the large screen behind him. Psychological warfare. A tall tree-like alien raised one of its branches. What is psychological warfare? Sarah Chen stepped forward. It means winning battles without firing a single shot. It means making your enemy defeat themselves. She showed them recordings of recent victories against the Void Dominion. Look at this battle. We sent fake distress signals that made the enemy think a whole fleet was trapped. When they rushed in to attack, they found nothing but automated drones broadcasting the signals. The alien leaders watched in amazement. Some looked uncomfortable, others fascinated. But that's lying. One of the crystalline beings protested. It's not Hano. The war room was silent as Sarah Chen revealed her most daring plan yet. Even Captain Rodriguez looked nervous as he studied the holographic display. Operation Phoenix, Sarah said, pointing to a map of Void Dominion territory. We're not going to defeat their armies. We're going to cut off the head of the snake. Admiral Zix 427's skin flickered with uncertainty. You want to attack their leadership? Impossible. Their command centers are the most heavily defended locations in the galaxy. Sarah smiled. That's exactly why it will work. They think they're untouchable, and that's their weakness. She zoomed in on 5 different locations. These are their primary command nodes. The Dominion's highest leaders are there, controlling their forces through the hive mind. Our spies have confirmed it. But attacking even one of these would be suicide. Syra protested, her crystal form dimming. They have thousands of ships protecting each location. Rodriguez stepped forward. That's why we're going to attack all of them at once, and we're going to fail spectacularly. The room erupted in confused chatter. Admiral Zix 427 raised all 4 hands for silence. You want to fail? I don't understand. It's like chess, Sarah explained. Sometimes you sacrifice your pieces to force your opponent to move exactly where you want them. Over the next hour, the human special forces teams moved silently through the Void Dominion's secret command center. Their coalition-made stealth suits made them almost invisible, while their human training kept them moving like shadows. In the main war room, Sarah Chen and Captain Rodriguez watched through the soldiers' helmet cameras. Admiral Zix 427 and Sarah stood beside them, barely breathing as the operation unfolded. Team 1 in position, whispered a voice over the comm. We have eyes on the primary chamber, confirming at least 30 high-level Dominion leaders present. Sarah leaned forward. Remember, we're not here to fight. Team 2, status. Charges planted at all key points, ready to disable their defensive systems. The plan was simple but clever, just like most human strategies. They wouldn't kill the Dominion leaders. Instead, they would give them a choice. All teams ready, Rodriguez reported. On your command, General. Sarah took a deep breath. Operation Phoenix, final phase. Execute. Across the command center, small explosions disabled security systems and communication arrays. Emergency lights flashed as the facility went into lockdown. The Dominion leaders, gathered to celebrate their supposed victory, found themselves trapped. Begin transmission, Sarah ordered. Her face appeared on every screen in the command center. Behind her stood representatives from every coalition species, showing their unity. Leaders of the Void Dominion, she said calmly. Look around you. While you were watching our fleets fail to attack your obvious command centers, we infiltrated your most secret facility. Your guards are disabled. Your communications are cut off. Your hive mind connection will be severed in exactly 1 minute. The helmet cameras showed the Dominion leaders looking around in panic. Some tried to flee, only to find all exits sealed. But we're not here to kill you, Sarah continued. We're here to offer you a choice, one that your biological programming never considered possible. She held up a document. This is a surrender agreement, not for you to surrender to us. That would go against your instincts. Instead, this allows you to remove your current leadership, the ones who sent millions of your people to die, and establish a new government, one that can make peace. The Dominion leaders chittered angrily among themselves. Their biological programming demanded they fight to the death. But something else was happening. They were thinking, questioning, doing something their species had never done before. Your own commanders are already turning against you, Rodriguez added to the transmission. We've been broadcasting evidence of your failed strategies to every ship in your fleet. They know you've led them into trap after trap. They know you're not fit to lead anymore. Sarah's voice softened. You have 5 minutes to decide. Choose peace, remove your failed leaders, and your people survive. Refuse, and we'll broadcast your location to every ship in both fleets. How many of your own forces do you think will remain loyal once they know where you're hiding? Admiral Zix 427's skin rippled with amazement as they watched the Dominion leaders argue among themselves. You're making them fight their own instincts, he whispered, forcing them to choose between biological programming and survival. That's the most human thing of all, Sarah replied, learning to overcome your nature when you need to. 4 minutes later, the Dominion leaders made their choice, not through biological instinct or logical calculation, but through something new, the very human ability to adapt and change. The war that had lasted 3 centuries ended not with a massive battle, but with a simple signature. The galaxy learned that true strength lies not in following patterns, but in knowing when to break them. As Sarah watched the peace agreement being signed, she smiled. Sometimes, she said quietly, the greatest victory is teaching your enemy to think differently.